There is no introduction. There is no title music. There's no outro. This video is not sponsored by neotericbrass.com, where you could, if you wish, go to purchase. You could buy my ebooks. You could buy my trumpet mouthpieces. They're all fantastic. But like I said, this video is not sponsored by my website because that makes no sense. Why would I give myself money to mention something or even waste time talking about it? I have two other websites, tonguecontrolled.info, which is an info site about the tongue-controlled embouchure. It's fairly good. There's some stuff on there that I should probably have never put up, but I haven't taken it down. And yeah, the whole bit about breathing on there is just terrible. But these analogies we use are appalling because we're just trying to avoid talking about human anatomy or something. I don't know. Forget that bit. I'll delete it one day. I'll talk about breathing in one of these videos if you like. I've got another website called Trumpet Planet, trumpetpla.net. I thought that was a clever, look, I've got a mug with Trumpet Planet written on it. Don't use that phone number. The phone doesn't exist anymore. So yeah, you can buy one of those mugs on neotericbrass.com and it's not got my phone number on it. What is happening? Okay, in our last episode where I left you on a cliffhanger, dun 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 dun. Did I or did I not stick to the TCE? Okay, so look, I have continued to be committed to the TCE for a decade. However, I am also interested in other ideas. That upsets some people. And it's an interesting topic, actually, because many people will tell you that if you are into Jerome Cannett's teaching, not only should you stick exclusively to the latest and greatest ideas, but you should also divorce yourself from all other ideas, which is something I've never bought into in all this time. I think that a dedicated period of commitment to the ideology in terms of sound concept, in terms of what to practice, in terms of what equipment to use, is necessary. You need to commit some time and effort to doing as you're damn told. I can speak like that now because I'm not a full-time teacher anymore. But if you're going out to play in a symphony orchestra, don't buy a Super Chops 1SB mouthpiece and pretend that people aren't going to be offended by the sound you're making. Sorry, I'm really sorry to people who will tell you the opposite. We're just going to have to agree to disagree. But here's the thing. I really like Bob Civiletti's approach to talking about mouthpieces, and that is he doesn't talk about mouthpieces. The first rule of not talking about Mouthpiece Club is that, that joke was never going to work. All right, then. So here we go. No, what Bob Civiletti says is our job is to trade notes for dollars. And if you're using a mouthpiece that makes that harder than it should be, stop. So, I had lessons from him and I was using the TCE number 3, his mouthpiece. This is one of mine. This is one of my TCE 3 mouthpieces that a friend of mine cut the shank down to make, the blank down to make it look like a socially acceptable mouthpiece. During the time that I was having the lessons with him, I used the equipment that he sells because that's probably a good idea. And then when I went to do a professional orchestral audition, believe it or not, I used a Vincent Bach 1 1/4 C because that's what professional orchestral musicians do. And, who the hell am I to turn up and tell them they're all wrong? And that, Yeah, I mean, I do believe that Vincent Bach mouthpieces are dated designs. Okay, um, they were all pretty much invented 100 years ago, in the 1920s, and so, but yeah, we've probably got better ideas now than then. But it makes that characteristic sound that a lot of people want to hear. A lot of people with the checkbook want you to make that sound, and so yeah, get off your high horse if that's what you're concerned about. I will do much more in depth talking about my opinions about mouthpieces in future, because obviously I get mouthpieces made and I sell them, and they do conform to a certain sort of set of ideals that I have subscribed to for a long period of time. Take a moment to breathe. Stop being so excitable. I've subscribed to a certain set of ideals for a long period of time, and it's served me well. But when it's necessary, you just have to fall in line and do the right thing. If you want to perform music with other people who don't share your ideology, there we go. Okay, so the question was, how committed was I to TCE? Here's the thing: the other ideas that I was interested in include Jeff Smiley's The Balanced Embouchure. I think that book really describes very well how sort of a no BS approach to how the embouchure functions. He talks about the lips rolling in and out as a means of what we might just call aperture control for need to not use unconventional terminology. This is an interesting thing. A thing about Jerome Kallett is that he always had to be different, and so it's almost like sacrilege to use certain words or phrases when talking about trumpet playing. What I should clarify is within the TCE community, if you say certain things, people will just assume that you don't understand. Whereas my perspective as a teacher and somebody who essentially went through the bulk of an embouchure change by themselves, my perspective is that you have to talk to people in language that they understand. And so, there are only so many different ways that you can say unroll the lips or pucker the lips or, make this movement with your face. And, sort of religiously sticking to certain terminology for the sake of just not saying certain things so that you're not misunderstood. I can't be bothered with all that, actually. Believe it or not. And that doesn't matter, because if someone comes to me and they want to understand what the hell am I doing with my tongue when I play the trumpet, I'm just going to tell them, and I'll show them, and I might use words that they understand. Okay, right. I'm the king of tangents today. I was really interested in the Balanced Embouchure book because it's got a common ancestor to the TCE, which is trumpet yoga. So the story goes that Jeff Smiley, after having lessons with Claude Gordon, then had lessons for a period of time from a teacher who was well versed in the trumpet yoga system. And his experience is that teaching Kallett-style double pedal tones to pupils was an order of magnitude more effective than standard pedal tones as taught by systems such as Maggio or Claude Gordon. And he would argue that it was because what you are actually doing is increasing the range of motion of the chops, and I don't dislike that idea. There's a lot of talk out there about how the embouchure shouldn't move. But I think that it's almost like this analytical approach where people look at what's happening on the outside and don't consider that it's a result of what's happening on the inside. And so they see a flat chin and they go, oh, everyone must flatten their chin. You know, it's not very, it's very sort of surface level analysis. So that maybe we need to think a bit deeper than that. But anyway, I really like the BE book, and you know, most people into TCE will tell you certainly that the at least the roll-in exercises from the BE book will contradict what we do with the chops when we're playing with TCE. I could explain why at some point I may have disagreed with that. It's worthwhile doing. Also, the breathing stuff in the Balanced Embouchure book probably contradicts the TCE. There we go. So the thing is that during what you would refer to as the Master Super Chops period, I think that DVD came out in about 2007. That's close enough. 7 or 8. I think it's 2007. And the instructions that were written in the PDF documents that came with the DVD or came on the DVD, not the spoken instructions on the video, but the instructions on the PDF had talked about how your primary control mechanism for pitch was the bottom lip gripping the tongue, or even both lips gripping against the tongue. And that mechanism worked extremely well for me when I first learned that technique. You know, the trouble that I had was controlling the note production and playing with a wide range of dynamics with the tongue in that position. But the idea that the lips roll inwards and grip against the tongue was very effective, and it does not contradict the idea that is in the Balanced Embouchure book. But here's the interesting thing. The tongue position that Jerry then went on to teach after the MSc period was more similar to the tongue position that was taught in antiquity back in the TCE period in about 2002 when the Trumpet Secrets book came out. And so at that point, he's talking again about pushing the tongue forward into the lip. Really, it's just they push into each other, and it doesn't matter which one you think about. This causes a lot of confusion. It's something I've talked a lot about with pupils, is that the tongue pushes forward, the lip grips backwards. It's chickens and eggs. You know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I think that the argument that is sold on this topic at the moment is that the muscles of the orbicularis oris will contract, or they will tense as a result of the tongue pushing into the lip. Hence, the tongue is controlling the embouchure. But it's one of those things where, again, I don't want to be dismissive, but I don't care. It's just, you know, we all know at this stage that if you went to Jerome Kallett for lessons over any period of time, he would constantly change his ideas. He would change the way that he described things. He would change the instructions that you were given. But essentially, if you look at his body of work from about, I'm going to say the mid-90s until, let's put the cutoff point around 2015, because that gives you a 20-year period. It's basically all the same. In fact, a lot of when you need to have a detailed explanation of how it all works, it's all in the Trumpet Secrets book, which came out in 2002. You know, the Master Super Chop stuff is quite confusing for most people. I used it. It worked for me. It wasn't everything that I needed to know about how to make this technique work for the trumpet. that was probably fulfilled much better for me by Bob Civiletti's materials. But let's just put, make sure that everyone knows this. The necessity of Bob Civiletti's TCE training materials, so far as I know, the information that I've been given, is that that's the thing that they fell out over. Bob wanted there to be a beginner's guide, a beginner's manual for the TCE. Jerry didn't believe it was necessary. They parted ways. Bob Civiletti's stuff contains exercises that have you exercise different parts of the tongue in order to strengthen it. Jerome didn't believe that was necessary. Bob Civiletti includes the Einsätzen and Ansätzen movements as a key part of training the muscles of the face to play with TCE. Disciples of Jerome Calet will tend to tell you that nothing but the latest and greatest ideas are necessary. Though I've been led to believe that actually maybe people are flip-flopping on that at the moment, and that the double pedal tones have become more popular. It doesn't matter. I think that, I subscribe to the idea that this is an embouchure development system, and that we will experience constant change as we develop over time. And the embouchure development or embouchure maintenance part of my practice routine is basically all of Bob Civiletti's stuff. It's going to be the Einsätzen, Ansätzen, and pedal tones. It's going to be his 5 articulations. It's going to be, all of that stuff. And it's worked very well for me. It's in fact, after the 2020 lockdown, when I was not able to practice effectively or enough for a significant period of time, it was Bob Civiletti's exercises that I used to rebuild my chops, and I actually believe they came back stronger than they were before. So there we go. I'm just going to do a time check. Yes, I'm at 17 and a half minutes again, and I didn't get any further through the story. What is wrong? Okay, well, I have to sign off because I want to keep these videos around this length. So tune in next time, which will probably be a video of me sitting in the same place, wearing the same clothes, drinking the same cup of tea, because why stop now? I want to roll, apparently. Thanks for watching. Speak to you soon.